Welcome back to Copperhead Customs. Today we are back on this, our 6-inch roof chop Bedford. Stick around to see what we get up to. Yes, that's right, today we're back on this, our 6-inch roof chop Bedford. But what year is it? And what year is it? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we are not quite sure. That's right, we have one set of numbers that say that it is a 1952 and another set of numbers that say it's a 1948. So if anyone has any idea which one is the correct one, drop your comments and reach out to me. So yes, this is either a 48 or a 52 O series stubby nosed Bedford, and we have given this a 6-inch haircut. A 6-inch haircut. A 6-inch. And then we've just patina painted the welds to blend them in. And we've dropped it on a Holden 1-ton panel van type chassis running a 202 blue motor. So today I think we're going to concentrate on making the chassis better. Yes, that's right. For a start we need to trim the front frame horns on an angle so that our nose cone will fit on correctly. So basically they will get trimmed approximately there, but we will go up to our other Bedford. That's right, we have another one. So yes, we'll go to our other Bedford and take some measurements to get that cut done properly. And once that's done, we should be able to get our final measurement at the back here to shorten this chassis. So we basically need the cab in the right position. We'll get a measurement from the center of this body mount to here, and then we will remove the body, shorten the chassis that distance. We may have to trim the top of this mount down, and we will also make our other cab mounts. So hopefully that doesn't take too long. We then want to paint the chassis, paint our front suspension, and paint the motor. So how much we get done, who knows, but we'll get nothing done if we don't start. All right, so let's quickly head up to the top and get some measurements from our other Bedford. Oakley dokley. So up here, this is our other Bedford. For the new people to the channel, this was our first car we built. This was a $5,000 budget build, and it is on the same style of chassis. It is the same style of cab. This is a 1951, but as you can see, no roof chop, no chassis shortening. This one is running a 202 red motor. So for those of you who haven't seen this, go back and have a look at it, but be warned, the videos may be pretty ordinary. So anyway, we just want to get a quick measurement down in here. It's probably pretty hard for you to tell, but just down in there, you can see that that is on an angle. So we'll stick the measuring tools on. We'll get a measurement from this corner to that bolt, and we'll just probably try to get what angle we're on, and we'll have a little look over the other side, and then we'll go back down and mark it. All right, we are back. So we have cut the ends of the chassis, as you can see. I know there is a couple of subscribers that are doing the exact same thing I'm doing here, so they wanted to know this. It is 50 mil or 2 inches basically from that sway bar to the start of our cut. Our cut is approximately about a 30-degree cut, but our cut will be the same pretty much as the angle of the front of the guards. Okay, now don't get too excited about getting this exactly perfect, i.e. this measurement. As long as we're around this mark, we should actually be a ½ inch, say 5-10 mil, ½ inch back from the front of those guards. We will plate this in a bit later, and then later on we will weld a little bracket like this that comes off here with probably a little gusset that will have a hole in it, and then that will bolt to what you'd probably call the rad support with this bottom bracing here that runs full length across the front, and we will bolt that to those little brackets we weld on the frame extension. Coming to the back now, if you're doing the chassis shortening, it is 580 mil that we want to take from here, center of here to center of there is 580 mil is what we want. So that's what we're going to shorten the chassis. and I think it was I think it was 40 millimeters. Let's just do a quick measurement. 40 millimeters down from the top of this is where we want this. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can actually cut this down at 40 mil, cut that off, put a piece of flat bar on with a hole drilled in the center. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this across here 20 mil down, not 40. So I'm going to cut that across there. Then I'm going to flip this piece the other way and weld it back on here. We'll have to trim the sides. We'll have to trim this piece. So this top piece that we cut off will get cut straight. Then we'll trim the curve out, flip it, transfer this mark onto here, and we'll cut this curve out like that onto here, and this piece will get welded back in. Okay, you'll see what I do in a minute, a bit later on. But because we are scabs, we're going to reuse that bit of metal. Our other protocol we've got to do is, down under there is our other front cab mounts. And what we're going to do is run a piece of angle, 50 mil angle. Down from them, we're going to use a bit of this, cut a bit of this off, drill a hole in it, and have that on the top of the angle, on this face of the angle here. Bolt that to that, tack it all together, pull it off, bring it onto the bench, grind everything up, weld it all out properly, stick it back on, tack this onto the inside of our chassis, and then the cab can pretty much come off because we can weld that out to the chassis properly without this. Now on the other car I did all this underneath the car, so it was a bit of a pain. I hate lying down welding. Enough talking, let's get into doing some metal fabrication work. Okay, slight change of plans. I've just seen this sitting in our scrap pile and I think that is perfect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to lop that off of there, both sides. There's two of them, and that will give us our piece to weld on there, and we just have to drill that hole a bit bigger, and that's nice and sturdy, probably 10 mil thick. So let's get on to that. And before we start, for those of you who are very clever and observant, you would have seen that the cab looks different. For those of you who've seen last week's episode, you might have seen the cab look different. If you haven't seen it, you may want to go and look at what we did to the cab. We painted it with clear coat and pearl and turned it into something we've never seen, which is a patinaed chameleon paint. Colour shifting from gold to purple to green to brown to everything in between. So if you didn't see last week's video, you may want to go and check that out. And if you did, here's another look at it. So let's get back to fabricating. Oakley dokley. As you would have seen slightly, we made those brackets. There they are in there. You can have a proper look at them when we raise the cab. Now that's just tacked onto the chassis. So we've got both of them done. Ooh, a bit close. Both of them done quickly. There's the other one. So very goodly. So there's the front cab mounts done. As you can see, we've got it jacked up. So next we'll get the dirt out of here and we will plate those front pieces. So we are getting there. Once, like I said, once we've plated that, done that rear shortening, that's all the rubbishy work kind of out the way, and then it's all the fun stuff like painting stuff, disassembling the motor, making the motor look all smick. I do have a plan for this. Again, if you're new, this build is going to be completely, like, I'm trying to do this completely, completely different to anyone else. As you can see by our beat up roof and leaving the bullet holes in, and then doing this crazy clear coat, and what we're going to do to the motor colours, and what I've got planned for the inside. We're doing it all a little bit left of field, but it should all turn out good. $2,000 budget, if you didn't know, $2,000 budget build. So yeah, that's enough for today. I'll see you tomorrow. But before we go, if you were wondering on the budget is, we paid $600 for the motor, chassis, steering column, the diff, all of that, fuel tank, tail shaft was $600, okay? We paid $300 for the cab and that chassis and motor, but we've sold that chassis and motor for $250. So the cab owes me $50, so that's $650. The hubcaps that we have on here, I paid $50 for if we use them, so that takes us up to $700. The chairs over there that we're going to use for our interior seats, I paid $20, so that's $720. And today I bought a set of extractors for $70, so that gets us up to $790 if I just added that in my head correctly. So we are going pretty well. I've got my rims out that we've paid nothing for, which is a set of stockies but fat. Now they are actually Chev rims. Pretty sure they'll fit, but I'm not sure about if the hubcaps will work, so the hubcaps may come off the price, we don't know as yet. And tyres we've got out the back that are free as well. So yeah, we're kicking goals. Anyways, see you tomorrow. Okay, so our next job is we are going to make some little cardboard templates of these frame horns. We also have to get all the rubbish out of there. So what we'll do is we'll just get this and give it a tap around the outside, which will give us our mark basically. And that has, and by using the hammer we actually cut it out, as you see. So that is a perfect little template for the outside of our piece. So what we'll do now is we will trace this onto a piece of metal. We've got a piece of, I think it's 3mm sheet over there, which is pretty much the same, if not thicker, than the existing bit of rail. So we'll trace this out onto that and bring it over and weld it on. Now the other side is slightly different, so we'll have to do a different template for the other side. So let's get to it. Okay, so that's what we've come up with there. So the ends are boxed in. Now we don't get too fussy grinding back the welds or anything. We just leave them a little neat and no one will see them, and I'd like to keep as much meat in there as possible. Even though it is penetrated properly, it's always good to keep a bit of meat on as well. Alright, so next bit is, let's drop this on the ground. I think remove the cab now. Then we'll look at doing our chassis shortening. Oakley dokley. Body is off, as you can see. We just did that off camera. We've got the body on the trailer, so we had to move a couple of cars, pull the trailer out. We had to get the boss down to help. We lifted the cab up. Now we have to set it up differently. We're not quite getting enough height. So when we go to re-put this back in, I might take the wheels off, or we want more height out of it because it's a bit agricultural doing it the way we did it. So yes, we lifted that up. We pushed the chassis out up there, brought the trailer in, stuck the cab on the trailer, took that back out, and now we've pushed the chassis back in. So as you can see, just around here there's a little bit of rusting, not bad on this side, but a tiny little bit of surface rust there. See, on the other side there, we're a little bit worse for wear. So we've got some pretty severe pitting on the top and on this side section through there. So when we do our cut, we're going to have to really think about how to do this, because I do want to stagger our cut some way, shape or form. I do not want to just go straight through, even though we probably will put some fish plates on as well, but I think I'd still like to try to stagger the cut. Now we're not in a real ideal where we would come down like this, and that's how we do our cut. Now with the way that is, we're probably not going to be able to do it like that. So I'm thinking we're probably going to have our stagger, we're probably going to come straight up here in here, then we might come this way, I think, and do a stagger, something like that, if that makes some sort of sense. I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to have to work out where I can cut this section to get some sort of a staggered cut, and then from there we'll then transfer that back 580 mil and replicate it. As you can see, we're a bit rough the whole way in here, so I'll work out what to do. We're probably going to have to cut a bit of this out as well and replace this. We're definitely going to cut a square out of the top there and replace that. We also we're going to have to jack up our gearbox and block that, unbolt our transmission cross member, and we're going to have to take that out and lop off the brackets for the cross member, because they're going to have to be reattached further back. And we also, I think we're just going to get rid of all these lines. We're just going to get them out of here for now, and we will deal with them later. And there's our other brackets that we made. As you can see, they're curved at the bottom and they're all nice, so they've got to be fully welded and reinforced as well. Bear with me a bit. I'll try to get my head around how I'm going to cut this on that side to get rid of the rust. Yeah, let me just think about what to do here, because it may very interesting here what we're going to have to do this cut nicely. So bear with me. Okay, so we have it marked, I think pretty good to get rid of the rust. We've done some weird stuff. So this is what we have done. We're going to cut along here, vertical. We're going to cut across to there. Then we're going to do that diagonal cut to there. Then we're going to go straight down, across, underneath, and then back along here. Okay, then at the other end we're going to do the same, but instead of cutting this edge here, so here we're going to go across, diagonal, down, back across at that, along here. Then we're going to step up a little bit, because we're actually cutting on the corner. Then we're going to come up into the straight. We're going to cut this little piece here. Okay, so that piece there is going to wrap around here, if that makes sense. It's going to give us 100 mil, so it's takes us to about there, and we'll bend that in, we'll tack that in and bend that into shape. Then we'll get another piece later, and we'll cut a piece like that, and we'll put a patch over the top of that ratty hole. I think we'll then put another plate on the inside over this join that's here. We'll put a piece of flat bar in there and weld a little fish plate on that. Don't know, it's not exactly how I would normally do it, but it should work pretty well. So yeah, and that way that this corner section should sort of come in. So if you look at this, this is actually a piece welded in here. See, this is actually a piece, and this is a piece here, and this is a piece here. So it will basically not really be noticed, but what we'll do is, because we've got a bit of roachiness here, we'll actually continue this around and we'll weld it in there as well. So I think that should work pretty good. So our next port of call is, like I said, we'll quickly brace the gearbox and let's get this cross member out. Then we'll stick some stands under it and we'll chop choppity. Okay, it's all cut. That will do us tonight. We've got one clamp on over there. It's close. We might need a little twit, little trim here, trim there. I think we've got to jack the front a little bit and just stuff around clamping, getting it all lined up, start tacking away. But it's pretty close. There's a little gap here, but this side's not even done at all. So yeah, that side is pretty good. I mean, a little trim just here, I think, and the front has to come up a bit because there's a bit of a gap on the bottom, but we'll get all that sorted. And then once we're close, we'll have it all clamped. We may put one or two little tacks, and then we'll just do some diagonal measurements, and yeah, should be good. As you can see, it's quite short. Now what I want to do is, because to me, I'm thinking it is a little bit out of proportion, i.e. we've got a bit too much overhang, I believe. Now, if you imagine, this is the back of the cab, so that's our tray, which is what we want, a short little tray. But to me, you know, honestly, I'll probably like it cut here, but we can't with the leaf springs unless we want to start putting 4 bars, and you know, we are on a budget build. So what I'm going to do is, I think we're going to lop it like through there. We'll just box in this plate, but we'll lop that off there, I think, re-weld that on the inside, so we can probably get whatever that is, a good 6 to 8 inches off the back is what I think. And then we may even not even have these sticking out. We'll think about that. We might just have it going in and have a nice little skinny tray, maybe. We'll see how we think about that. Let's get a quick measurement on that, because I have a little harebrained idea. So that is 1200. So we'll see if my little idea is going to work. Okay, I've had enough today. We'll see you tomorrow. Oakley dokley. So we did a bit off camera. We've got it all welded up now, and we've just got to grind them down a little bit, the welds. And on this side over here, there is a little bit of rust still down the bottom there, just where I'm pointing. So we'll just put a little patch over and around on that. It's probably about 2 inches, little piece, couple of little pieces. So we'll put a little patch there. Other than that, it's all welded. And then what we want to do is we want to put a plate over that hole, that rust hole, and over that rust hole. We're going to plate that up. The other side's nice, but I don't know. We might plate the other side so it matches. I'm not really sure. Other than that, it all looks good. It's pretty well square. So I've taken a few different points. We did a point off the top of the shocks diagonally back to this body mount, and we've done from this bolt hole here diagonally to a point back there, and we're basically within 1 or 2 millimeters. Anyway, so there it is. Nice stubby. Our stubby little chassis is getting there. Oakley dokley, we are back a Rooney, and there it is. We've patched the 2 holes. It's all welded. It's welded around the wrap around the corner. Then we've welded this piece on top. We've welded up that piece. Our bracket's all welded, So that's all pretty good, I think. We did a little repair there on that rust. We've gone and done the other side as well. We decided to cover these two holes just so it looked the same. And then what it also is this piece is now welded to this, to this, to the wraparound. So that's just like another little reinforcing plate anyway, so it's not a bad thing. So that is strong as houses. We've done vertical ups on our brackets, so they aren't coming off anytime soon. Our next port of call, it just started raining, and I've got to go and pick up a couple of hardwood pallets that are free around the corner quickly, because we could use the wood, I think. We've got to do this, so we'll do that in the morning now, I think. That was only a quickie. We were just about to do it, but we'll go pick these pallets up quickly. And then we'll quickly lop this off, I think, and we'll just reattach it from here. I don't think at this stage, we won't do the outside bit. We'll just do the inside bit, bring it forward. We'll gain a couple, I don't know, 6 inches, say, of length will be removed. I think that would be good. So basically, our chassis is now shortened, though. We now have to go and get these pallets. So I'll see you in the morning. Oh, Kelly Dokley, we've got a fair bit done today. So, as you've seen, this is what I was talking about with the rear body mount. So, that's the piece that was curved up, as you've seen. So I cut, we wanted it 40mm down. This So I marked it at 20 mil down, okay, and then cut it out, then flipped it and traced that. So that is 40 mil down from where it originally was, so it's worked out pretty good. And as you can see, it actually looks pretty trick. It sort of kind of looks factory. So we did that, and from back here, as you can see, I really think that has turned out a treat. We also bolted in our transmission cross member back in, and then cut them off of the bit of the chassis we cut out and re-welded them on, so they're in the right position. And then down the back here, we cut the back of the chassis off, and there's our piece. So we've cut approximately 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches off there, replated them, the ends of the chassis, and then this is the existing back piece. We welded that back in the center, so that's how we did that. You also would have seen we blew out all the dirt and muck out of the chassis. I think there was a nest in there, all sorts of stuff. There was mud. All of these little things here were chocked up with mud, so that's how we finished that off. Now the plan, I'll fill you in on a bit of a plan. That piece of wood there is the existing piece of wood that was mounted to those. So they were the uprights that were on the original chassis for this truck. Okay, so that was the headache rack, and that was one of the original pieces of wood, there it is, from it. So my plan is to reuse that. I like to use some of the original pieces from the trucks. So my plan is to use that piece of wood across the back here. We're going to bolt that in onto this, and it will be to house our tail lights or whatever. It'll just be like a rear wooden bumper board type looking thing, okay? So that's going to be there. Now, what I've decided is, I was going to pull the motor out and quickly grind up all the chassis, and then look at probably throwing a quick coat of paint on it. But then I was sitting there thinking, right, we've got some other things. We're going to have to do some welding for our guards, and we're going to have to do some welding for our tray still. So I've decided we'll quickly build the steelwork for our tray. So my plan is to have these up here, of course, but not this big. That's way too big. We're only going to have them 850, which is basically there. So they're going to come up to our chop line, where we chop the roof, that body line. This is where we're going to have basically the top of this is going to be approximately there. I think that will look pretty trick. We don't want a big, tall, stupid thing, okay? So I've got a couple of measurements. We've got to get this a bit more accurate, but basically the body should finish around this mark, okay, which is basically the edge of that is basically where the back of the body will be. So we're going to give ourselves an inch between the body and these is where my head is at. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut them down, then we're going to weld these onto the chassis here. Now if you look at the chassis has this kink. Now what I'm going to do in this one is I'm going to keep, just hope you follow me, I'm keeping the tray to the chassis width only. Okay, so we're going to have the wooden tray is going to be skinny. We're going to have our guards that stick out, and our tray is just going to stay at this thickness the whole way along. Okay, so our wood will come along here to the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the inside edge of this line up with the outside edge of that, is what we're going to do, if that makes sense, so that the wood will come along and it will come along to the inside of that. Let's go quickly and I'll show you what I got yesterday. Okay, so these are the two pallets we picked up for free yesterday. The one on the bottom is approximately 4.5 meters long, so it is huge. Now there's 11 slats on that are 100 mil. Our bed's 1200 wide, so there is more than enough wood here to do the tray base. Okay, ample. There should be enough there to do the tray and all the sides, maybe even the cross bits. Ample. Then there's enough wood on the other one to do the wooden floor on the inside of the cab and the running boards. Oakley dokley. Well, a huge day today. It's getting pretty late now, so I think we've had enough. We've got our, whatever you want to call them, in. We made the hooks go out. So that was a bit of fun because, as you can see, they're chamfered and they're done with one side straight, one side chamfered, if that makes sense. But we've made it so that they're chamfered both ways. So to get them so that they were the same was a bit of a challenge. So they're leaning in basically. It's 30 mil basically top to bottom. But what we've got is the centers at the bottom and the centers at the top are the same measurement. So yeah, we've got them both. If you stand back here, you see it's ever so slightly leaning in, and the same on this one, it's ever so slightly leaning in. So they're a bit of a challenge to get, but they're all squared, welded on, strong as you can see, that is strong as anything. So the plan is then what we've done is we've welded a brace between them, and we've welded this little piece through here which comes onto the chassis. So the wood's going to be sitting on top of this. This is the wood, and it will sit on top of this, and then we've put two braces in there, so the wood will run this way and it will go, this screw can be bolted in here, there, and there. It may just be top and bottom, I'd say, up there and up there. So that's the plan with the wood. So that's where we're at. We've got a lot done. As I said, we chopped the back, we did the mount. We've also got the cross member in and bolted. We haven't bolted the gearbox back in, but it lines up because we have to pull the motor out, so there's no point. But the cross member's bolted back in. See you tomorrow. Oakley dokley. So lots done today. As you can see, we've got our 4 uprights on each side. So if you're trying to work out what's going on, these are going to be our 3 pieces of wood. So one will come to here, it will be above this of course, and then it will curve down. One will come to about 200 mil past this one, and one will come 200 mil past this one. So we'll have 3 pieces of wood running along the sides. As you can see, we've boxed in, put some metal down in there, so we'll have some wood running in that section as well to cover up that bit of ugliness. Remembering our guard will be coming in here somewhere, so we'll cover that little ugliness up. We've got our board there, so we'll have timbers coming across the front here, coming to this edge, and then we'll have these timbers will butt up to them, if that makes sense. So, and then the floor will come up to the edge over there, running this way. So that, you'll have to wait for me to do all that, but that is all the steel work for the tray is now done. That should be ample, should be strong enough. It is hardwood, remember. We don't have that big a gap in between. I think we're running about a 500 mil gap in between the runners, so it should be sufficient. And across here, like I've said, we'll run 3, definite 3, but maybe 4 across there, and we'll use that old piece of original wood on the back here for our tail lights. So as you can see, we've got the back boxed in, framed out, all the tray done, these done. We've got our rear cab mount remanufactured. We've shortened our chassis 580mm. We've got our cab mounts made and put on. We've cut out all the rust of the chassis. We've moved our cross member, and we've lopped the front of the chassis off and plated that up. So we've got a heap of fab work done. Now that is 99%. We'll have to do some welding for the rear guards. Will have to get put on, and also our running board mounts will have to get welded on. So we're not going to paint it just yet. I think we'll wait during the week. I'll source the guards, I think, what we're doing there. We'll work that out. We'll also work out the height. We'll transfer the height of the cab onto the sides and the wood, and we'll work out where to put our... We'll probably just mount a couple of these running off, probably 2 or 3 of them running off to mount our running boards on. That's what we did on the other one. And then once those 2 jobs are done, I think, unless something strange happens, that is all the fabrication and welding to the chassis done. We can then look at fully painting it out. Our motor has to come out now, so we need to pull the motor out, and we can start addressing that. You'll have to wait, and I would come back and see what I do to this motor, because it should look jaw-droppingly good. So cost in this video is no different than when I released the price. All of this stuff was free. This is all just leftover bits of metal. All of this galv I actually picked up for free. They were just offcuts from a place. Our headache rack was part of the existing. All of the plate that I was using was leftovers that I picked up for free. So didn't cost us anything to do any of this at all, not a cent. Now we've got rid of the, as you can see, the other chassis is now gone. That was dropped off today. So we actually got 300 for that, but 50 of that was because I dropped it off for fuel. So yes, 250. So we are still at whatever the price was, $790 on the build. And we should have enough wood in all our pallets for everything. Very, very close anyway. So next one I would want to come and suss. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, but like I said, we've got to get the motor out. We've got a little bit more welding, then the chassis can get painted. We've got to order our suspension components. That can get finished. We've got our wheels to do and mount the tyres and prep the rims. And we've got all the stuff. We've got a heap of stuff to do in the cab, flooring. It's all in here. The flooring, the dress, the door card. We've got material for the door cards, the seats. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do, but it will well be worth coming and looking. So with all of that said, I will say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.